anxious, and they're anxious with good reason. I was raised in a household when the price of gasoline rose precipitously. It was the discussion at the table. It made a difference when food prices went up. But we've never seen anything like Putin's tax on both food and gas. America should also understand our economy has unique strengths that we can build on. The job market is the strongest it's been since World War II, notwithstanding the inflation. We added another
$3,600 for children under 6. Half of it was made available to parents in advance via monthly payments throughout the second half of 2021. In that time, there were significant decreases in child poverty and food scarcity. Government data showed upticks in spending on necessities like clothing, utilities, and much more. Republicans in Congress and Joe Manchin have let it expire, everybody. According to Republicans, this year the credit reverts to its pre-2021 structure, a non-refundable credit worth up to $2,000 per child, ages 16 and under, that is. The Guardians receive that when they file a tax return next year, but the expanded child tax credit payments have been paused, even though they help many families stay afloat as inflation skyrocketed. Reports have found that millions of children have fallen back into poverty. States have stepped in to make up some of the difference, and Vermont joins 9 other states in offering a state-level child tax credit, in addition to California, Colorado, Idaho, and New Mexico, and some other states. Additionally, North Carolina offers a child deduction rather than a credit, and Michigan's state legislature has passed a credit worth $500 for most children, though it is not law yet. Connecticut is offering a one-time tax rebate worth of $250 per child, capped at $750 for 3 children. Families need to apply to receive it, and the size of the credit and eligibility requirements vary greatly by state. Vermont's $1,000 payment, for example, is reserved for children 5 and under and families earning $125,000 or less. In Massachusetts, existing tax deductions for dependents were converted into two refundable credits. These state tax credits are worth between $180 to $240 per child under 12 for up to 2 children in all families. In some states, the credit is non-refundable, which means it can reduce someone's tax liability as low as $0. Taxpayers must file a tax return to receive it. Others, including Vermont, have made it fully refundable, meaning that it can reduce a filer's tax liability below $0. Despite the plans, the bill is yet to be formally proposed and is being negotiated on across both sides of Congress. Folks, we have a ton of good news about the fourth stimulus check and Social Security benefits. Stay tuned because you definitely don't want to miss out on this. Social Security, everybody, provides monthly benefits to millions of retired seniors. Some of those seniors depend on the program for the bulk of their income, and that's proven to be a problematic thing this year in particular. Although Social Security recipients get a generous 5.9% raise going into 2022, at this point the rate of inflation is far outpacing that boost. That means seniors who live mostly on Social Security are losing buying power even at a time when they're sitting on a higher raise. But that's not the only issue with depending heavily on Social Security. In future, Social Security may have to cut benefits to the tune of 20% due to revenue shortfall. That could leave many seniors in the lurch. In the coming years, Social Security expects to owe more in benefits than it collects in revenue, due largely to an anticipated mass exodus of baby boomers from the workforce. The good news is that Social Security has trust funds it can tap to keep up with scheduled benefits. But once those trust funds run out of money, benefits will be cut back on the table. Meanwhile, the Social Security trustees recently released a 2022 report, and it projects that the program's trust funds will run out of money in 2034. From there, Social Security may have to slash benefits by 20% unless lawmakers come up with a solution to address the program's financial shortfall. But there are remaining lawmakers that are working on fixing Social Security. Democratic senators have teamed up to propose giving Social Security beneficiaries an extra $200 per month. The plan was put forward by Elizabeth Warren, Schumer, and Ron Wyden. The extra income would apply to all Social Security, veterans, and SSDI beneficiaries. Senator Warren has told CNBC News, increasing Social Security benefits is the quickest way to get money out the door during an economic crisis. However, senators have not confirmed how they would offset the cost of these increased benefits in their plan. And according to Wall Street Journal report, the Biden administration is unlikely to announce a decision on student loan forgiveness until later this summer. The more than 40 million Americans saddled with student debt have been waiting in news, and President Biden said in May that he'd be sharing his plans in the next couple of weeks. So folks, I hope that President Biden can do something about this and send the stimulus check sooner than later.
Today, while many people take Social Security for granted, it's been around for a long time, let us remember, before Social Security was created in 1935, about half of our nation's seniors were living in poverty. Today, though the poverty rate is still too high for seniors, that rate is just 8.9%. 50%. Thank you very much, Senator Wyden. Senator Braun.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've been here a little over 3 years, and I recall the first budget hearing that I was at. Senator Mike Enzi was the chair then. And when you keep hearing the same thing over and over again, it gets tired to listen. I agree that there are certain priorities we have as a government. I'd say defending our country would be up there. Attending to our infrastructure, which we all share, and entitlements. I think it's hard to make the argument that we do not need to keep this whole and healthy. But I also recall from that discussion that nothing ever gets done because there's no political will here to do it. On decisions like this, where you're dealing with a situation a lot more complicated now than it was even 3.5 years ago. We were $18 trillion in debt when I got here. We're 30, and imagine we got a blueprint out there that says we're going to be 45 trillion in debt in 10 years. That's not the context that any of this is going to work within, other than an academic discussion. That lack of political will of trading off spending for this versus that, which you've got to do everywhere else in our society. It's laughed at when you would ever use the metaphor of households. Let's use the metaphor of state and local governments. They have guardrails that force political will into doing what needs to be done. All I can tell you is we're not evolving into a place to where we're going to be able to do any of this, and it's going to go way beyond Social Security. Medicare trust fund goes broke in a little over 4 years. Senator Sanders and I are probably the two that talk about health care the most. Different points of view on what to do. It's a broken system. If we fixed health care alone, made it more transparent, made it more competitive, took it down to where it is across the rest of the world, which is closer to 11, 12, 13% of our GDP, we'd all of a sudden free up 5 to 6% of our GDP that you could then plow into whatever you want to prioritize. But as long as we don't do budgets, which we haven't done in 10 years, as long as we come up with gimmicks that we soon overturn, it doesn't look good